Hello and welcome to Timberborn Update 6. We've been playing with the experimental version since this summer, but today marks the full release of Update 6 Wonders of Water on the main release branch, as well as a fresh start to take advantage of all the great new stuff that's been added over the past few months. I am also very excited to announce that Mechanistry, the developers of Timberborn, have generously sponsored not just this video, but a 5-video series here in the new Update 6. Thanks very much, Mechanistry, for supporting the channel and for sponsoring this video. So, let's go ahead and jump right on in. Gonna do a new game with the Iron Teeth, of course. And to take full advantage of all the cool new stuff we can do in Update 6, we'll be playing on Cliffside, which is a map specifically designed for vertical building and contains some nice new terrain elements. See you on the other side of the loading screen. Alright, so of course, in keeping with tradition, we are going to name our settlement Beaverburg 19, because this is the 19th series we've done in this game. And, of course, as always, we start with 8 adults and 4 kids. We're going to hit pause here and check out the map, because this is a cool map. I wanted to do this a little bit earlier in a previous series, but I figured based on what we wanted to accomplish in those specific series, this wasn't really going to be the perfect map to look at. But for this series, it's going to be perfect. And here's why. Look at all the verticality we've got here. Nice sheer cliff faces. It's not a big map, so we're not going to be running all over the place trying to take care of all sorts of nonsense. We're going to be able to focus on a pretty compact area and try some new building techniques, new styles that I haven't really done too much with. And you take a look at this, you'll notice we have an air gap under here. Now, if you've seen the other series in Update 6 when we played with the experimental, you're going to remember that Update 6, one of the biggest features of it is that now we have this 3D water physics that allows us to use these things called overhangs that we can place and actually waterproof with the help of these impermeable floors, and then good water, bad water, whatever, will just flow over it. And you can create tunnels, you can create all sorts of different voids and spaces and really reroute water in ways that were never before possible. So that's really exciting. And this map is really cool because take a look at these things right here. These are actually natural overhangs, built-in map elements. And this map has a lot of them all over the place. Right here, we've got like this passage that can just go right across this way here. We've got a natural bridge in this area as well. And there's a bunch of them just all over the map. And I thought personally that it was really cool. And I think we're going to have a good time messing with these. We have also the ability to demolish them if we so choose, just like these things up here, these blockages. And without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump right on in. As always, the very first thing that we always do in here is get some lumberjacks going, and I'm going to just pop 2 of them right down here, get connected with a path. We'll take advantage, of course, of this natural formation here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and just clear cut all of these pine trees. And you might be saying, wait, don't you need pine trees to have pine resin? Well, yes. We've talked about this before a little bit in other series, but we're not going to be able to use it until we have the Tapper Shack anyway. So I always, in the beginning of these series, make a big deal about, oh, we got to save the pine trees. No, we're going to be fine. By the time we can actually take advantage of these, we're going to be planting more anyway. So we're going to get a great boost at the start of the game, try to rocket through early game stuff as much as we can today, and make some very good progress there. So we're gathering some wood. Of course, we're going to have our berries here, not only for sustenance, but for breeding purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and build this path out here like this. And that also is going to give us space right here to go ahead and put in a couple of water pumps. We'll go ahead and build 1 for now, but I am going to place this second one, keep it paused so we can build it later. We need to make sure that we are amassing water and food early and often. I'm going to leave this here for a medium tank, just a blank space for the time being. And we have all this space down here that isn't currently irrigated. All the space is irrigated. We do have the bad water coming down the middle here, but for right now that's not a problem. When we have our first bad tide, and however many cycles that is, almost certainly not in today's video, but when we have a bad tide, we're really going to need to make sure that we have engineered a way to keep our crops alive. But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. First goal, always in Timberborn, make sure that you have your water and your food as situated as you can before you get too crazy with other stuff. So we're going to let them take care of building this deep water pump here. And then we're actually going to go ahead. We have the berries here, but these are going to be here until we get rid of them. So while I'm not going to stop this guy here from gathering, this is actually Himanshu. This is a beard booster supporter. I have the mod that does all of the beaver name changes. So we actually do have 12 of our channel supporters cumulatively since I launched the program that are representing here, and of course everyone else who gets born in will be randomly assigned a name. So thank you, Beard Boosters, for supporting the channel and making it possible for us to call out individual beaver actions with your names attached to them. Hope your beaver behaves. But I digress. We're going to go ahead and move on, and I'm actually going to go ahead and build a farmhouse before we do much of anything else, because crops for the Iron Teeth end up being a really, really big problem if you don't get started early. Because it's a little bit of a complicated system. It gives you a lot of options to have food security late game, but early game, you can really, really, really get over your skis if you're not careful. So I'm actually going to place this guy probably right about here. Put in this path here, and of course, starting out with the Iron Teeth, pretty much, I mean, you can plant whatever you want, but you can really only eat the kohlrabis because, well, you don't have to process them. Cassavas would be the next step, but we don't have power yet, so I'm going to go ahead and just have this entire area here. Anything that is green within a reasonable distance of the farmhouse is going to get planted as kohlrabis. They'll take care of this. I'm actually going to go ahead and hit that triple speed because we are getting down into the night here. But before too long, early tomorrow morning in-game, we'll have this deep water pump ready to go. It's going to start pumping, and it can hold a little bit of water there. We'll get our beavers hydrated, make sure that they're safe, good to go. But I want to get this farmhouse built as soon as I can, because the sooner you start growing crops, the longer they have to grow before the drought hits. And then, of course, since we don't have any dam structure or anything, whatever you can grow until the water goes away is the only thing you're going to have. So you really, really, really want to make sure that gets going. And of course, we aren't going to forget about putting in water tanks. I'm just going to start with one for now. Go ahead and have that guy right there. But as you can see, we're already planting kohlrabis. We can actually deprioritize this building. Take this out at triple speed now, because it's, you know, no longer overnight, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. Once these are planted, they're going to take a couple days to grow. We can actually deprioritize the workers here and send them somewhere else if we so choose. We have this slope here that is going to allow us to come down here, and I think what's going to work best, I know this is going to look a little weird, but again, early game, Iron Teeth, in my opinion, the way I like to play at least, is all about trying to get as far into the tech tree as you possibly can, as quickly as you can, because you're going to start having problems with the initial set of beavers dying of old age before too long. And if you wait until your population is situated like really robust, you're not going to get anywhere. So I'm going to build this one compact water wheel, and then off of that I'm going to place this industrial lumber mill, and that's going to give us planks, which is going to allow us to put in a forester. And some of this area is going to get used for growing trees. We do have some oaks down here. We have another patch of berries, but we can't get over here quite yet until we do some research. And you can see we have some -2s here for shelter, because, you know, none of the beavers can live anywhere. But, you know, the Iron Teeth don't actually get that big of a debuff, relatively speaking, for not having somewhere to sleep. The folktails won't reproduce until they have extra space, but the Iron Teeth, no, they don't care. They grow their babies in vats. Speaking of, we're going to go ahead and start with a breeding pod, and I'm actually going to go ahead, I'm not going to put 2 down, but we're going to build another one pretty quick here. I just want to make sure, honestly, probably should do the breeding pod first, because they do take some time to grow, and beaver lifespan is determined by well-being. So while we're at the -1, again, it's not the end of the world. It's early game. It's fine. This happens all the time. While we're at the lower well-being scores, we're really not going to have the ability to keep up, so to speak, with population loss unless we have a disproportionately high number of breeding pods. So it might seem kind of nuts to have 2 or 3 of these going early game, but until our beavers have a well-being of what is it, 27 or 37 or something, they're not really going to live that long compared to, say, late game stuff. So I am going to have them build this first. You will notice that, okay, one of them's a little thirsty, but we're not in danger territory quite yet. Just let these guys do whatever they've got to do. Of course, cutting down trees, processing them into planks and all sorts of stuff is going to take a little bit of time, but that's just early game Timberborn. You kind of got to plan a whole bunch of stuff at once. It's not the end of the world if you don't get something done super fast, but if you let it go too long, you're going to get caught with your pants down, so to speak. But like I said, now that we have these kohlrabies growing, they're going to take a couple more days. We don't have extra jobs for these guys to go off to, but I'm going to go ahead and deprioritize that farmhouse. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I'm actually going to put in a couple of inventors. Because this is a nice little distraction for our beavers. Whenever there's, nothing else to do, of course, these are going to be massively deprioritized workplaces, but we got to have science. If we want to unlock stuff like, say, the foresters, we can plant more trees, or different industrial things we haven't taken care of. But we now have a breeding pod that is actually in the process of producing another beaver, and we have a little bit of storage for water. We have some of our initial storage of berries left in our district center, and then, of course, we have more blueberries over here. We have these kohlrabies that are going to be grown. The farmhouse will store some of those. Not the end of the world. I'm actually going to, not completely deprioritize these guys. But we will need to have some storage as well. So I'm going to take this space over here that does not have any irrigation, and I'm going to pop in... Actually, let's slide this over one more. One more, just so I can get around this if I have to. One of these, of course, is going to be for logs, and I'm actually going to go ahead and come right out with a storage for planks. Because we have our two beavers here working on turning logs into planks. Now, I am going to shut this off after we have a decent number of planks, because, we're not going to need that many. I just need to be sure that when I'm building the forester, I have at least 7. Currently, we have 6. So... it's fine. It is what it is. Just let them do what they gotta do. We have all of these trees here. We have some that are still growing, so we're not going to run out of wood. We're going to be okay. We just need to make sure we don't overbuild whatever else is not strictly necessary. It's kind of a balancing act. And these are only 12 logs apiece. These are actually going to generate some pretty good science early on if we have both of them going. 12 planks. I'm going to go ahead and pause this. And I'm going to pause the storage for the planks so we don't accidentally build that, since we don't, strictly speaking, need it right now. We got kohlrabies coming in. We should go ahead and have a storage for those. So I'm going to bring that, say, right about here. Just have the storage for the kohlrabies, which is right there. And now this breeding pod is halfway through. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build another one. So we hopefully we can stagger this thing. Let's go ahead and prioritize that. Again, these lumberjack flags have mostly cleared out a lot of this, but there's still plenty left. Again, we're going to be fine on wood usage. We just have to make sure that everything is monitored appropriately. And once we have science, we can put in other stairs and we can get around to the other side of the map and everything. It's going to be fine. We just have to be, again, careful about how we operate our stuff. And as long as we have a pretty good quantity of food and water before the first drought for 12 beavers, we're going to be just fine. Going to be just fine. So this is growing quite nicely. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start growing cassava, not now, but after our first drought. When we're in the first drought, I'll put down the cassava to be planted. It's obviously not going to be planted, but as soon as we have the ability, reasonably, with all the other stuff we're working on, I'm going to put down a fermenter, because the cassava do not have to have a second ingredient, neither do the mushrooms. It's only the soybeans that have to have the oil. But this is going to be great, because you can see you have 4 raw cassavas turn into 10 fermented cassava. Obviously, there's a power and labor component to that as well. But that is going to really, really help us out. Right now, these kohlrabies, I mean, 3 days, 1 plot grows you 2. And the beavers are going to eat them, which, that's what they're supposed to do. But it's not a very space and time efficient food. It's just something that requires no additional processing steps. So you're going to notice that right now we have less than 30 wood. We have more left down here, but we're going to get into trouble pretty quick if we don't grow more trees. And hey, look at that. We just got our 60 science. So let's unlock our forester. And this guy right here is going to probably serve us best if he's placed actually down in this part of the map here. It's not going to fit, you know, perfectly, amazingly well, because we do have this one tree right here that's just about finished growing. And I'm not going to be able to fit it there anyway because it's going to block the path. But if we go into, say, right about here is probably about as far in as I can go reasonably. Let's leave a little bit of space here. Take this out. So now we got a forester. Let's come off a triple speed just right quick. And we have a bunch of these different trees to choose from. The mangroves, if you can get into the water, the mangroves actually are much better for early game wood than pines are because, you know, it only takes 10 days. But we don't have any way in this map where we are currently playing, we don't have any way to get down into the water. So as great as they are, it's going to do us no good right now. Fast wood, you might say, hey, plant the birches, it's 9 days. It's only 1 log. The pine is still the best for early game at least, at 6 days per log. Oak trees are fantastic at 8 logs apiece, but they take 30 days to grow, and we're going to need wood a lot quicker than that. So this entire thing down here up to about this spot is going to be replanted pine trees, and we're going to just continually cut all that down, of course. And there is space up here for us to grow trees. Obviously, if there's no irrigation, the trees aren't going to grow. But again, it's early game. To a certain extent, you just have to kind of take what you can get and move on from there. This will plant anywhere here. These guys can't quite reach the end, so they are going to get relocated, but not immediately. For right now, this is still okay. We just want to make sure that Joban over here can go in and plant as many pine trees as possible. We still haven't gotten our drought warning yet, which I am kind of tempted at this point on day 8, given that the cassavas only take 5, to go ahead and plant a couple of these bad boys. But I don't want to get myself in trouble here. Well, you know what? It's episode 1 of the series. We might as well just go ahead and see what we can get accomplished here. We do have the option to prioritize planting or harvesting. Right now, you see they got their little hats on. That's a fun thing they added in the, I think it was in the experimental portion of Update 6. If not, feel free to correct me in the comments. That's always allowed. I'm not going to be one of those people that gets mad at you for saying, hey, you got that wrong, because that's how we learn. We're learning together. Granted, I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in this game, but I still miss stuff. It just happens. So please do always feel free to point stuff out. I'm not going to get mad at you. But we're going to get them to plant those cassavas. And then, oh, I love that digging animation. I actually hadn't paid attention to that. That's pretty sweet. Good job, devs. But, yeah, we're getting these planted. Again, plank-wise, we don't need any more planks currently, but the facility is here. And that's what matters. We want to make sure we have access to that. We also want to make sure that we have, at some point, we don't need them right now, but at some point we're going to need gears. But before we do that, we're going to need fermenting, which the way this building is designed can kind of create some challenges for routing stuff. But in this specific instance, this is actually great because power transfers in the base game. If you watch my Water Beaver series, you understand that power transfer in there is an exercise in futility, but that's on purpose. But like I said, we're in the base game, so everything is a whole lot easier. Any face of any building that produces power, unless it tells you otherwise, is going to transfer power between adjacent buildings. So I can put this guy right here, and it's going to be really space efficient. And I'm going to be able to put in a lumber mill right here, right next door. We're not going to block anything. It's going to be perfect. So this guy I'm going to set to fermented cassavas. I know it's going to be a couple more days until we can actually use it. But since we have the ability, and we have the logs right now to build this, we're going to want to make sure we have this before we go and do too much of anything else. So, quick check here. Day 8, probably about 2/3 of the way through the first cycle. Cycle length does tend to vary a little bit, but generally speaking, you're probably going to have between, 10 and 14 days on normal difficulty, which we're currently playing on. You're going to have between 10 and 14 days of a temperate cycle, and then it starts out very short. I've had droughts as short as 1 day, but early game, generally, it's going to be pretty short. If you adjust the handicap settings, then obviously that's going to change your results, but the maximum length drought we can have on normal is 9 days. We're not going to have that until at least cycle 4 or 5. I'm pretty sure with the default settings. So, water, 20 water. Each beaver consumes 2 water per day. On normal, we have currently 13 because our breeding pods are doing what breeding pods do, and they're breeding beavers out of the pods. So, right now, it's enough for 1 day. Almost. We want to be prepared for a little bit more than that early game. Beavers will survive for a couple days without water, but you really don't want to go down that road because then they start having status effects, and you're going to have problems. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dedicate 30 logs to building these small tanks. Going to increase our total water storage capacity to 90. And then keep in mind, we have the second water pump we haven't built yet. And we probably are going to want it. We're not going to need it immediately, but we're going to want it before too long. So again, I know it's basically the end of the night, but I'm going to just put this in triple speed so we don't spend too much time sitting here watching not too much happen. But as you can see, pine trees continue to be planted. They continue to be cut down. We have not processed any more stuff into planks because we just really don't need it right now. Well, that's fine. We're making nice progress. We still haven't gotten that drought warning, which is nice because these cassavas are less than a day old. Drought warning, if you have not played Timberborn before, is always 3 days in advance. Well, any seasonal warning, drought or bad tide, is 3 days in advance. So we know we're at the very least going to get at least a couple of these until this water just disappears. Now, there isn't anything stopping us currently, except, not having enough logs, from constructing a dam across here to just make sure that we have a little bit of water retained here. But I'm going to tell you, early game, you're going to feel the urge, and I still do, but you're going to feel the urge to make sure that water stays in here early game. I got to tell you, it doesn't really matter. If you're playing on normal difficulty and you haven't done something truly insane with your beavers, it's not going to matter if you lose water for a day or two. As long as you have some stored, which we do, and we are in the process of getting more of that going. I am going to go ahead and pause this fermenter because we don't have anything to ferment. We don't need to waste a beaver's workforce, power, contribution, whatever you want to call it on that. But I am going to go ahead and build the second water pump just so we can fill these up a little bit quicker. Again, we have at least 3 additional full days because we did not get the warning on the morning of day 10. We're probably going to get it on day 11 or 12. It's not too often it's going to go past that. It does happen, but it's not super common. Forester can't plant anything else in here, of course, unless I put in some stairs. What? We can't build stairs yet because we don't have the science. We're close, though. It is... Oh, actually, no, we do. We have 70 science. We can unlock stairs. We can have platforms, but all of these things require planks, which... Well, we didn't get it on day 11 either. I'm glad I planted those cassavas then. We're going to be able to make good use of those. And I'm probably not going to be able to grow a second crop of these before the drought comes in, but we'll see what happens. I do think, though, for the sake of the playthrough, I'm going to unlock the stairs. I'm not going to put the first set here because that's going to end up possibly running into issues. I'm going to put the first set of stairs down here. Why, you might ask? Well, the easy answer is because... okay, well, I'm not going to uproot that tree. But the easy answer is this is going to give us access to more blueberries and, most importantly, this grove of oak trees. So before these berries grow too big, and here I am going to put in... Well, obviously this is going to get blocked because there's berries in the way, but I want to make sure I can still get around here when we do eventually get into this area. So this path right here will take us all the way down here. This tree, again, we're not in super, like, panic mode yet. We can still harvest these berries if we put a gatherer flag up here. A lumberjack flag placed on this path can reach a couple of those oak trees. If I move it down here, it can actually reach a pretty decent number of them. So I am going to put one here. And I'm going to mark these oaks for cutting. In fact, we have some dead ones over here as well. So I know we can't reach all of these, but if you go ahead and mark it for cutting, you're not going to forget to do it later. And that's something that I do end up from time to time running into. So a little bit of planning ahead of time is going to pay some big dividends later. And here we are, end of day 12. We're probably going to get that drought warning on day 13. These cassavas, by the time the middle of day 14 rolls around, will be in the fermenter, and we're going to be in pretty good shape. All right, and there she is. We got the drought warning. We have 3 days. Let's come out of triple speed real quick. We have 3 days before the drought comes in. Obviously, all these dispensers are going to turn off, including the bad water, but we have a way to fix that later in the game. They're going to turn off, and then, of course, all this is going to be a drought. If we really, really wanted to, and we had the resources, technically we do, we could have our builders just go gung-ho on putting in a dam right here, which maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. Personally, the way things are right now, there's not much early game that we haven't accomplished that I would consider to be mission critical. The bigger problem is going to be, would it be possible for us to construct this dam 4 pieces before the end of day 15? I think they can do it. So I'm gonna say, hey, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to bring in 2 additional workers here in the district center, which, you know what, we haven't renamed. Let's go ahead and do that. Unless I hit the wrong button. Good job, me. Beaverburg 19, because the beavers abide by Roman numerals for some reason. I don't know, don't question it. It's just the way we've always done it for the past 3 years. I'm not changing it now. But since we have these deprioritized, they are going to come out of here, and they're going to work in the district center. The farmhouse was also deprioritized, but food-wise, 48 normally, if you're a mid or late game Timberborn and you see a double-digit food supply number, you are in some deep stuff. But right now we're fine. We got 14 beavers. We have, what, 3 days of food? We're going to be okay. And we're still continuously working on getting other stuff fixed, so it's going to be fine. And yeah, middle of the day on day 1 of the drought warning, and this first dam piece is just about complete. I'm glad we decided to do this. So that's going to work out really, really well. We have cassavas probably, yeah, 96%. By the end of today, these should be able to be picked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pause this gatherer flag, and we're going to send Himanshu over here. Probably, yeah, he's going to go work in the farmhouse. And hopefully in the next little bit when these cassavas become ripe, they're going to grab those. And then that's going to give us the ability to put them in the fermenter. They're going to get fermented. And then, well, of course, that's what a fermenter does. And then we'll be able to eat them for food. And since there's no kohlrabis in storage here, and we're still early game, I'm just going to change this to say, hey, this is going to be for fermented cassavas. No love lost for the kohlrabis, but this is a better food, and we want to make sure we have that prioritized. So, right here we have Megan Dawson taking care of some tree-related activities here, and there's all these oak trees down here. That's going to be great for us to have access to. Now that we've placed one here, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just remove this lumberjack flag. There are some logs here that are on the ground the builders will eventually grab and put in the large industrial pile, but they're doing such a great job with this dam. I'm actually really impressed. I've had problems in the past, probably because of how I typically choose to do things, but I've had problems with early game dams actually being constructed before the first drought, so this is great to see. Very, very, very encouraging start here for us. So they're going to take care of that. We do have beavers with broken teeth, which is something we should probably fix expeditiously. We have the building just for that, the tooth grindstone. Well, it's called the teeth grindstone, but I don't know why I always call it the tooth grindstone. We'll pop this guy right here in this slot because that's a very convenient place for it to go. I'm gonna let him build the dam first, though. Like, make no mistake, that's definitely more important. So, of course, when that's built, this will back up a little bit, and then there's a specific percentage height-wise of water that will, I guess, technically, how the game decides this works is it like flips it between on and off state of open and closed. Visually, nothing happens, but basically there's a threshold the water gets to. If it's higher than that, it goes through like a spillway. If it's lower, it holds it back like there's just a full block in place. So this water line here will get a little bit higher, not too much higher than this, but it will get a little bit higher. This water wheel should not turn any slower, in theory. But as the water builds up, before it can crest over the spillways in the dam here, it will turn a little bit slower, but it should be just like it was now before we started building this before too long. So, end of the day here, I will go ahead and triple speed this thing, get all the way through, and then we're going to have not only this dam complete, but we're going to have access to this space over here, which is going to be fantastic for us because we can plant more trees over here. I know there's some nasty poison water over here, but we're not really going to have to worry about that for quite some time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this second thing of stairs in. They're not going to be able to build it yet because I have this lumber mill turned off. But as soon as this dam is built, and it's just about done, I'm going to take these other two builders out of the district center. We'll put them back to work. And hey, look at that. We've got cassavas coming in. So let's prioritize those. I'm going to say harvest. We'll unpause the fermenter here. We got Tess Rogers on the job, taking care of fermenting some cassavas for us. Thank you very much. And it's early game. We don't have access to haulers yet, so pretty much everybody who works at these production buildings is just going to be spending most of their time running around and getting materials. It is what it is. We'll get there eventually. But early game, we're looking fine. And not a moment too soon, because look at this. We're basically already drawn down most of our berry supply. So we're going to turn that gatherer flag back on. And we're going to get Jelby124 over here grabbing some berries for us. Not only to keep our beavers fed, but also our breeding pods active. You got to make sure you keep these stocked or you're going to run into some problems. So, fortunately though, we do have cassavas fermenting. They're going to be eaten immediately by the beavers because I'm sure they're hungry. And yeah, we've got a dam in place. And these wooden stairs need to have a little bit of planks to finish that up. We will run this building just briefly enough to get that going, and then I will turn it back off because we do have a relatively limited labor force currently. So it looks like that should do it. I believe if we got somebody with the fourth, unless I counted wrong, I probably counted incorrectly. Well, all right. We got our well-being up to 3. That's probably due to the food. Yeah, but we have that -3 penalty right now because nobody's sleeping inside. You know, just minor complaints. Minor complaints there. But I will go ahead and turn that lumber mill back on. And the reason I put it on one-time speed is because we are at the end of the temperate season. The drought will be here in 0.2 days. It's early game. There's almost nothing for us to screw up. But I always like to make sure, because sometimes I miss it. Sometimes I miss stuff. I know people who've been longtime watchers of the channel are like, yeah, you better believe you do. No, we're all about honesty, transparency here. So they're going to be perfectly fine. Food-wise, yeah, this is a little scary, but don't worry. We're going to be okay. We've just got to grab the rest of these cassavas. We have all of these kohlrabis. They're going to dry out, but they're not going to dry out fast enough for it to be that big of a deal. So I will get this back full, make sure we can harvest these cassavas, and then we're going to be in okay shape. But the drought is upon us. Don't worry, though, because this isn't going to go away. It's probably a 2-day drought, would be my... Yep, 2 days. Now, this has stopped turning, which is just a minor inconvenience, since you know I was waiting on that fourth plank. So I timed that rather poorly, and of course the fermenter is not going to do anything without power. So we might as well go ahead and pause this building. Let's take a second here, because I did make a mistake there. I didn't get this exactly perfectly set up, so that's on me. But in 2 days, 1.6 days, this water is not going to go away. We do have full storage of 120, which is great. That's enough to keep 60 beavers alive for 1 day. Or you can choose to do whatever other math that you deem necessary for that. But my main goal now is to make sure that we can actually eat stuff. So cassava's no longer going to be prioritized. In fact, I'm not even going to prioritize planting right now. We got to get these kohlrabies out of the ground so they can eat those. And then I'll eat my humble pie about mistiming this. But I don't think there's any other... Yeah, there's no other pines that need to be planted. But we do have a tiny bit of space across here that we could make use of. And honestly, the way this is set up, I probably should move the forester across the way here. Because if I place this right here, this is going to give me access to basically this entire area right here, this entire area here, and I don't really care about up top here. This is fine. We can leave these trees here. I can unmark them for planting. They'll spread naturally if they can. But this is going to be a better location for our forester. I know, like, this little bit right here at the corner here is going to be unplantable because of the bad water, but it's not enough for it to be a problem. Now, I know there's going to be at least one of you who's thinking right now, well, why don't you just put the forester up here? Well, you can see it has the range reduction at the side over here, and I could very easily put it here and be fine, but putting it here is going to give me access to this space as well. Which I could use the forester to plant additional berry bushes, or I could plant coffee, or what have you on here. So I will go ahead and place this here, but we're not going to build it yet. And here's why, because I'm going to solve my problem by getting rid of this forester, since, you know, we're moving it anyway. You demolish this thing, and you recover, like, what, 75% of your materials? There's planks in here, which we could use to finish these stairs. See? See, it works out. It ends up working out. It's going to be fine. But yeah, they're gonna go ahead and take care of that for me. And then by the time that's finished, we'll have the ability to come in and hopefully take care of some other stuff here. Now, we are in a little scary position on food, but we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. We just have to harvest these kohlrabies. I do have this set to harvesting priority. But for this to really work the best way it possibly can, we're going to need another farmhouse. So I'm going to go ahead and place one. I guess this side is probably fine, because as these stop being trees and start being other things, we're going to have irrigation and all this other stuff we can use to actually grow crops elsewhere. We're going to want another farmhouse down here. Right now, my main concern is trying to actually get the food out of the ground. So that's going to be a top priority building. Get that taken care of. Triple speed to get through the rest of the night, and then we'll see what else we can get ourselves up to. But yeah, here we are at dawn of day 17. They're going to get to work, build that farmhouse, get those guys employed again, because the inventors are minimum priority. They're going to go work when there's nothing else to do, but as soon as something opens up, they're going to go put on their farmer's hats, and they're going to start gathering stuff. So obviously you want to have as many kohlrabies as you possibly can, but now that we have 4 farmers instead of 2, they can come over here and plant some more cassavas for us. And since this water's not going to go away, we're going to be able to just continuously grow, which is good stuff. Plant some more cassavas up here. And then, you know, actually, I'm going to unplant these cassavas, and we can bring those guys down into this area instead, just because we have the space here. I'm actually going to unplant this whole row as well. And as the time goes by, they'll be able to take care of that. And wouldn't you know it, it's the end of the drought. And we have 15 beavers. We've got 2 more brewing. Actually, one's about to be born. Cycle 2 begins, and we are looking really, really good, folks. Really good. As soon as this water starts flowing again, we can have them come back in and do some fermenting and some plank making and all that fun stuff. Now, you will see, until this starts backing up here, you will see the bad water actually fill this back up, and it might take a couple of trees and bushes out, depending on... Nope, never mind, we're saved. We're saved. We got the clean water coming in. So that's good to see. This is the only bad water source on the map, but it's a small map. We're probably going to be okay. So I'm going to go ahead, before I get to, I know, right at the end of the workday, right, turn that back on. Before we get too comfy, without addressing the rest of the stuff, yes, there is a way to mess with this later. The Iron Teeth have access to, there it is, bad water discharge, which is basically like a, it's not really a cone, it's more like a dome you can build on top of this, and this will either seal it off, or if you have it open, for the Iron Teeth, the Folktales version does not do this, but the Iron Teeth one, if you have this open, it actually forces it to come up out of the ground still during a drought. And we also have the ability to come in with, where is that building? I don't know. We'll get it figured out. But right now, I'm just very pleased with how this has been progressing here. We got enough wood. We have enough wood. The food situation is massively improving. Gonna get some more of these cassavas planted. Actually, yeah, we've got a lot more space here to plant than I thought we would. We got water. We've got 167 science, which is great. And we could start doing a little bit more industrial stuff down here. I know plank-wise we haven't really needed to quite yet, but we're going to need to expand that. We can get into gears now if we so choose. Of course, you make those from planks. Gears being a very, very important industrial component for the Iron Teeth. And possibly most notably for our interest are going to allow us to build a medium tank, which is going to store 300 instead of 30. But again, we currently only have 16 beavers. We're okay. I do think now that we're in cycle 2, probably about time to go ahead and put some housing in. So Iron Teeth are not folktales. They sleep in barracks, not lodges. And I actually like these a lot better because, number one, the entrance is on the ground floor. You don't have to build stairs to get up in here or put them on the side of a cliff or something. You can just build these things. It's nice and easy. I think for where we are right now, this barracks location is going to be fine. The reason I didn't build these in the first cycle is it's 40 logs. And all it does is it gives you, you don't have the -3 penalty for not having your beavers sleep in a barracks. So, yes, eventually you do want to build that, but it is not mission critical. You don't have to have it to get more beavers. You just have to have it to have happy beavers, which, again, we do want. But it takes time. So we definitely want to get started on that. And I do only have 74 logs right now. We are in the process of growing more, and we have oaks down here. Plus, this forester, once we have a beaver who can actually work it, can continue planting, except this area right here is currently got the bad water in it. But we have a secret weapon called the irrigation barrier that eventually, once we get the treated planks a little bit later in the playthrough, we can just place right here, and that'll take care of most of our problems. But I think right now it's probably more important for us to have our fermented cassavas, which is what's being done right there. The industrial lumber mill is industrially lumbering some mills, or whatever you do in those buildings. Get those rest of those guys planted in there. So we have 120 water. Again, for right now, that's perfectly fine. I am not going to pause these because bad things happen when you forget about paused water pumps. But I will deprioritize one of them, not both, because again, bad things happen when you forget about water pumps. Very bad things happen. But if we deprioritize that, now we have another beaver who can come in. Game Face ZA working here, and the forester can plant some additional pine trees for us. And we can probably, honestly, would make a whole lot of sense to just treat this whole area as an oak forest. And this mess back here, I'm not really going to mess with yet, but getting oaks planted now and continuously planted after they are harvested is going to be very, very important as we move forward here. So, we have a compact water wheel. The keen-eyed among you will have already noticed this, but we're not making enough power to supply both of these buildings at 100%. So what has to happen now is we have to build another water wheel. But we can't actually get to this because there's no way to get down into the river. So of course, we can turn to our old friend, the stairs. And I'm just going to pop one of those right there. Now, if you have bad water in here, don't send your beavers in bad water or bad things will happen. And we don't currently have any way to cure them. So again, don't do this. If your water looks like this, or especially if it looks like this, don't send them down in there. But this is going to do just fine right here. I will... Yeah, I don't really need to super prioritize this. We have plenty of time until the end of cycle 2 anyway. So we'll go ahead. Yeah, they're still working on that. We got plenty of wood that can get cut down. But we are going to pretty soon start running out of wood. Because we've been building too much stuff. So let's triple speed this thing. Get in here. Make sure food-wise we're looking okay. The amount of cassava that we have is not currently enough to feed what we've got going on. But again, it's early game. Stuff isn't optimized yet. We're just kind of in the put stuff wherever it's going to fit stage. And that ends up being a little bit of a challenge sometimes. But we're going to be just fine. Gonna be fine. If we're really feeling nasty, we could come in and start put some well-being things in. Like, campfires, which provide the benefit of aging the kits a little bit faster. And these don't have to go on irrigated ground. They can go wherever. So this would actually be a very good thing for us to put in. This is actually kind of far from where they sleep. That's going to block off too much stuff. You know what? Let's just put that there, because we're going to eventually want to get over here. Build a campfire. It's 15 logs, but it is a social thing. It's going to give the beavers something to smile about and, interact with each other once that's actually finished. But, yeah, see, there you go. The well-being score skyrockets because now some of them can sleep inside. Not all of them. Not yet. But some of them can sleep inside. That's always nice, right? So, you know what? It's still early game. It doesn't really matter that much. I'm just going to go ahead and build a second barracks over here. We do have our food storage for fermented cassavas here that we cannot currently fill because we don't have enough cassavas to ferment to put in the fermented cassava storage. Well, that's fine. Again, everything takes time. These are starting to grow back in again. And all of the farmers here, all 4 of them can come and, get the stuff out. That's fine. Now, these pine trees, once they're cut down, are not going to be replanted because the forester moved. But that's fine because it's much more important that the forester plant these oak trees here, or we're going to have a bad time with wood later. And yeah, it's 30 days. It's going to be like a full, well, early game is going to be like a full 2 cycles before these are grown. Late game, when, you have your 7, 8, 9 day droughts, it's like a cycle and a half on normal difficulty. So stuff just takes a little bit of time. And we have cut down most of these oaks here. There's a few saplings that haven't grown in yet. And it's going to be a while before most of these are actually ready to cut. But again, that's fine. All other measures, we're doing really good for early game. No complaints there. Now, we do have a full storage of kohlrabies, just about, but I'm not going to build dedicated kohlrabi storage yet, because we don't have a whole lot of logs to work with, and that would just be kind of superfluous. So I'd rather just have the storage for the fermented cassava here. And by the way, we are making enough power to do all of this. Just have to have enough cassavas to actually ferment and hopefully build up our stock. It is probably about time for us to think about making gears or investing science points in other stuff like platforms. You don't have to build dams to get across bodies of water. You can build platforms. They just take, you know, planks, which we don't have a ton of. We also have the overhangs, which you need metal for. We're not going to be there for a while. But suspension bridges are also a great way to get across gaps. This was just the super simple early game solution. But as soon as we have a bad tide come in and all this water turns that nasty red, these dams are not going to be our friends. I might actually remove them when that comes if we haven't solved our other problems by then. Because a bad tide is, of course, going to turn all of our water sources into nasty water sources, bad water, whatever you want to call it, whatever other terms you choose to append to this particular game mechanic. But it's going to kill pretty much everything, including this little crop of blueberries. So we really need to make sure that we have as much access to the prevention technologies as possible, which, yes, does include these irrigation barriers, and yes, that does require the treated planks, which come from the wood workshop. And as you can see, there's multiple reasons why we can't do this yet. We're not going to be there for a little bit of time. We're probably going to have some early game suffering when it comes to bad water. That's just the way it goes. That's the life of a beaver. We have to have gears for this. We have to have pine resin, which we have not gathered. And we probably will not be gathering for a little bit of time because, again, you have to have the tapper shack, and that's 500 science. We just cannot justify that right now. But what we can do is we can go ahead, spend 100 science and unlock the gear workshop, because we're really going to need to make sure that we have gears probably pretty soon. So we're going to have them build that. It needs 25 planks. We only have 13, but that's because I didn't actually build the storage for the planks yet, because, again, we don't need to be making a whole lot of planks at this exact point in our playthrough. Like, there's going to come a time when that is going to be the case, but right now, no. If I had built this and just left it unattended, we would have turned all of our logs into planks, which, early game, you don't want that to happen. It's just going to cause all sorts of pain and suffering. You don't want to be on the other side of that one. So fortunately for us, we have space for all of our beavers. Currently, we have 15 adults, 2 kits, and we have 2 more on the way here. In fact, this one's just about done. Don't ever zoom in on the breeding pods unless you want nightmare fuel, by the way. I'm sure there's going to be people saying in the comments, zoom in on it, so I might do it next episode, just because sometimes it's funny. But it is, yeah, it's a little disturbing. It's like a big wrinkly, well, I mean, it's a baby beaver. It's a wrinkly thing suspended in a vat of berry juice. You can kind of get a little bit of a glimpse there, but you zoom in too much on it, look, no. No. Don't even. Let's see. We've got our campfire looking good. There's other stuff that we can get to early game, like the rooftop terrace, but as the name implies, it has to be on top of a building, which right now, with how we currently are sitting with planks, I don't want to be building too many platforms, too many stairs quite yet, and we're fine without it for right now. And the other thing we want to make sure of is we don't want to overproduce gears. This will only make 10. I'll only make 10 at once. And of course, I want to have a medium tank, but I don't have the science for it yet. So while it is nice to have gears, I am going to go ahead and pause this. Well, once this gear's done. Going to pause it. There we go. Because we have other stuff that's more important for the beavers to be doing, like, some scientific research. And we're going to pause the industrial lumber mill too. Fermented cassavas, though, those are always important, just as soon as we can grab those. So it probably is going to make sense for us to go ahead and build a hauling post. Even if it's only one beaver working there, that means we can prioritize buildings for that beaver to, go and haul stuff in or out of. And that means whoever's working in there doesn't have to worry about it. All right, so we got our second drought approaching. We got 3 days. Again, we have a dam here. We're in good shape. But it never hurts to be prepared. Never hurts to be prepared. So if I build a hauling post, I have the materials to build it right now. I can set 1 beaver on there, and that's going to end up being a good move for us. The placement doesn't really matter. This is space I can't grow any crops on right now, so that is what I will do. I'm going to go ahead and preset this to be a single worker. And the very first building that I'm going to prioritize by haulers is our fermenter. So the worker in this building does not have to leave to go get product or to send it out. So we should, well, of course, they're going to eat the snot out of this, but we should see our fermented cassava number continue to climb a little bit quicker. And as we get more beavers, we can, of course, increase the amount that are working here. But we need to make sure, even though I know the water is going to stay here and this drought's probably only going to be 3 or 4 days, we need to make sure that we are continuing to fill our water reserves, and we need to have more capacity, which is why I was trying to get the gears done. But the way this is currently going, I don't think I'm going to be able to, one, have the science to research the medium tank by the time that the drought starts. 2, I'm not going to have the time to make the gears. Well, I'd have the time, I'm not going to have the planks because, we're in a process. Everything takes time. If you watch my videos, you're probably sick of me saying it, but it's true. It's true. So that's why we do this, right? Cassava's coming in. We do have a small stock, but wow, we're all... See, this is what happens when you have haulers. You can do stuff like this. You don't have to just be agents of chaos swinging wildly around with your lack of food to surplus of food to suddenly there's no food. Like, stability is nice. It's very, very good to have. Since all of this is planted right now, I'm going to deprioritize, and then I'm actually going to go ahead and send him over here to the hauling post as the second worker, and I'm going to prioritize these farmhouses. So that way the farmers can focus on pulling plants out of the ground and putting new plants in the ground. And these 2 guys will just focus on moving product around, as they should. So yeah, we got 118, 128, 156. See how fast this goes now? These are super important, super important. And now we're going into the drought with basically a maxed out water storage and not quite maxed out food storage, but we're really, really close. And since we only have 16 beavers, we're sitting in a really, really good position early game. Now, we do have these 2 breeding pods, and that's fine, but I think it's just about time to put in not 1, but 2 extra breeding pods. Because early game Iron Teeth, you're going to run into kind of a labor gap. Okay, 3-day drought. We can handle that. No problem at all. You're going to run into a labor gap pretty quick because there's going to be a lot of stuff that needs to get done in terms of processing, especially food. It just takes more bodies. It takes more bodies to produce. So this one's a little more than halfway. This one's just about done. This one's just about starting. So these 2 are actually going to be in sync. I do not want 3 of these going at the same time. You want to spread out your breeding pods, or else you're going to have birth and death waves, which not really something you want. Or I don't know, maybe you do and you just have weird play preferences. It's up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in a storage for the berries because we really need to make sure we start stockpiling those. I said earlier I want to save this space for a medium tank. I still don't have the science for it, which is fine, I guess, at this point. Again, we're in a really good spot, so I shouldn't be too down on myself for not making the perfect choices. But it's fine. Obviously, during the drought, you can't really do anything at all that requires power until you have gravity batteries, but we're not there yet. So, but it's only 2 days. I'm not really that worried about it. I am going to pause, though, just because we do have currently vacancies that can be bettered by putting another beaver in there. Like, for example, the inventor huts, if they did not already have something else to do. So I'm going to pause that, and now we're going to have at least 1 beaver making some science for us. I don't think we're going to get to 120 for the medium tank by then, and even if we did, I would not have the materials to build it. But, it's nice to have goals. It's always Always nice to have goals. So we've got just about full storage of kohlrabies. We have the wood now where I'm not going to feel bad about putting in storage just for kohlrabies. I just wanted this one, since we had only built the first one. I wanted to make sure that we had space for the best available food. But we're going to get to the point pretty soon where we just need to have food. And it's always good to have that on hand. So, this one's just about done. This one's less than halfway. This one's about exactly the same. I'm going to go ahead and unpause this. So now these two are going to go at the same time, and these two are going to go at roughly, well, actually pretty much exactly the same time. So our population pretty soon is going to probably go up into the mid-20s, maybe low 30s, depending on how much our well-being increases. But all that is going to be something for next episode, because I just looked over at OBS, and we've been going for an hour, which, I don't know, first episodes of the series usually don't last this long on my channel, but I feel like we got a lot of good stuff done. Lots and lots of good stuff done here. We've got a stable food supply, we have enough water, and we're working toward building our medium storage tanks, and we've got some tree farms stuff going, we've got regular farms going, and we are beginning of cycle 3. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and call that for today, and we're going to be right back at it tomorrow with the second episode of this series. Remember, at the start of the episode, I did say that this is Mechanistry agreed to sponsor a 5-episode series. We're probably going to continue on longer than that, because you know how this works, but we're going to go full tilt for these first 5 episodes for sure, and try to do as much as we can. So again, huge thanks to Mechanistry for sponsoring this video in this series. Really, really appreciate the support. Please do go check out the link in the video description. It does help the channel if you go and take a look at Timberborn on the Steam page. Through my link there, please buy the game. They didn't ask me to tell you this, but I love this game, in case you hadn't noticed already. But it truly is worth picking up, and there's never been a better time to do it, because, of course, Update 6 is out, because you're watching this video. So, all that being said, could not do it without your support. Whether you are a beard booster or this is your first time watching the video on my channel, I'm very, very glad that you chose to spend some time with me today. It's the support of people like you that make it possible for me to continue doing this. I'm just eternally grateful. Can't wait to see you back again tomorrow for episode 2 of this series. Again, 5 consecutive days, 5 consecutive episodes, and we'll see where it goes from there. But for at least the next 4 days after this one, we're going to have a great time in this playthrough. Again, that's all I got for today. Stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning for more beavers. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.